Now this is the account of Enki and Enlil and Ninmah, their loves and espousals, and by their sons the rivalries. Offspring of Anzu, these three leaders were. By different mothers were they born. Enki was the firstborn son, a concubine of Anzu was his mother. Enlil by Antu, the spouse of Anzu, was born. The legal heir he thus became. Ninmah by another concubine was mothered. A half-sister of the two half-brothers she was. The firstborn daughter of Anzu she was. By her name title, Ninmah, this was indicated. Greatly beautiful she was, full of wisdom, one quick to learn. Ea, as Enki then was named, by Anzu to espouse Ninmah was chosen. Thereby their offspring son the legal successor thereafter to become. Ninmah of Enlil, a dashing commander, was enamored. By him she was seduced, into her womb his seed he poured. A son from Enlil's seed she bore. Ninurta, the two have named him. By the deed was Anzu angered. As punishment, he, Ninmah, ever to be espoused forbade. Ea, his bride-to-be, by Anzu's decree abandoned. A princess named Damkina he instead espoused. A son, an heir, to them was born. Marduk they named him, one in a pure place born, it meant. As for Enlil, a son not by espousal he had, a spouse by his side to be he did not have. It was on earth, not on Nibiru, that Enlil became espoused. The account of that is one of rape and exile and love that brought forgiveness, and of more sons that were only half-brothers. On earth it was summer. To his abode in the cedar forest Enlil retreated. In the cedar forest was Enlil walking in the cool of the day. In a cool mountain stream, some of Ninmah's young ones, to the landing place assigned, were bathing. By the beauty and grace of one, Sud was her name. Enlil was enchanted. To his cedarwood abode Enlil her invited. Come, partake with me in the elixir of Nibiru's fruit that grew here. So to her he said. Sud into Enlil's abode entered, the elixir in a cup to her Enlil presented. Sud drank, Enlil drank too. To her Enlil of intercourse was speaking. Unwilling was the lass. My vagina is too little, it knows not copulation, to Enlil she was saying. To her Enlil of kissing was speaking. Unwilling was the lass. My lips are too small, they know not kissing, to Enlil she was saying. Enlil laughed and embraced her. He laughed and he kissed her. His semen into her womb he poured. To Ninmah, Sud's commander, the immoral deed was reported. Enlil, immoral one, for your deed judgment you shall face. So did Ninmah to Enlil in anger say. In the presence of 50 Anunnaki, 7 who judge were assembled. 7 who judge on Enlil a punishment decreed. Let Enlil from all cities be banished. To a land of no return let him exiled be. In a sky chamber they made Enlil leave the landing place. Abgal was its pilot. To a land of no return Enlil was taken, never to return. In the sky chamber the two of them journeyed. To another land was their direction. There, amidst forbidding mountains, at a place of desolation, Abgal, the sky chamber, landed. This your place of exile shall be, Abgal, to Enlil was saying. Not perchance have I it chosen, to Enlil he was saying. A secret of Enki in it is hidden. In the nearby cave, Enki 7 weapons of terror has hidden. From Alalu's celestial chariot, he had them removed. Take the weapons into your possession. With the weapons your freedom attain. So was Abgal to his commander saying. A secret of Enki to Enlil he did reveal. Then from the secret place Abgal departed. Enlil alone was there left. In the Eden, Sud to Ninmah, her commander, words was speaking. By Enlil's seed am I pregnant. A child of Enlil in my womb has been conceived. Ninmah, Sud's words to Enki conveyed. The Lord of earth he was. On earth he was supreme. They summoned Sud before the seven who judge. Will you take Enlil as your spouse? They her asked. Words of consent she uttered. The words by Abgal to Enlil in his exile were conveyed. To espouse Sud, Enlil from his exile was returned. By that did Enki and Ninmah to him a pardon give. Enlil's official spouse, Sud, was declared. On her, the name title Ninlil, Lady of the Command, was bestowed. Thereafter, to Ninlil and Enlil a son was born. Nanar, the bright one, Ninlil him named. He was the first of the Anunnaki on earth to be conceived. One of Nibiru's royal seed on an alien planet to be born. It was after that Enki to Ninmah was speaking. Come, be with me in the Abzu. In the midst of the Abzu, in a place of pure waters, an abode have I established, with a bright metal. Silver is its name. It is embellished with the deep blue stone, lapis lazuli. It is adorned. Come, Ninmah, be with me. Your adoration of Enlil abandon. To the Abzu, to the abode of Enki, Ninmah then journeyed. Enki there to her words of loving spoke, of how for each other intended, sweet words to her he whispered. You are still my beloved, to her, he said, caressing. He embraced her, he kissed her. She caused his phallus to water. Enki his semen into the womb of Ninmah poured. Give me a son, he cried out. She took the semen into her womb. The semen of Enki her impregnated. 1 day of Nibiru was a month of earth for her. 2 days, 3 days, 4 days of Nibiru, like months of earth they were. 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 days of months were completed. The 9th count of motherhood was completed. Ninmah was in travail. To a child she gave birth. The newborn was a female. On the banks of the river in the Abzu, a daughter to Enki and Ninmah was born. Enki by a daughter was disappointed. Kiss the young one, to him Ninmah said. Kiss the young one, Enki to his vizier Izimud said. A son I desired, a son by my half-sister I must have. Again he kissed Ninmah, by her loins he grabbed her, his semen into her womb he poured. Again she was with child, again a daughter to Enki she bore. A son by you I must have, Enki to her cried out. Ninmah he kissed again. Thereupon Ninmah against Enki a cursing uttered. Whatever food he ate was poison in his innards. His jaw hurt, his tooth hurt, his ribs were hurting. Izimud the Anunnaki summoned. To Ninmah for relief they were pleading. To distance himself from Ninmah's vulva, Enki by raised arm swore. One by one she his ailments removed. From her curse Enki was freed. To the Eden Ninmah returned, never to be espoused. Anu's command was fulfilled. To earth Enki his spouse Damkina with their son Marduk summoned. Ninki, Lady of Earth, the title she was granted. By her and by concubines, Enki 5 more sons had. These were their names: Nergal and Gibel, Ninagal, and Ningishzida, and Dumuzi the youngest. To earth Enlil and Ninmah their son Ninurta summoned. By his spouse Ninlil did Enlil one more son have. To Nanar, a full brother, Ishkur was his name. 3 sons in all did Enlil have. None by concubines were they born. 2 clans were thus on earth established. Their rivalries to wars did lead. Now this is the account of the mutiny of the Ajiji, and how Anzu to death was put for stealing the tablets of destinies punished. From the Abzu, gold from the earth's veins to the landing place was carried. Thence Ajiji in rocket ships to the way station on Lamu transported. From the planet Lamu in celestial chariots was the precious metal to Nibiru brought. On Nibiru was the gold to the finest dust fashioned. To protect the atmosphere it was employed. Slowly was the breach in the heavens healing. Slowly was Nibiru saved. In the Eden the 5 cities were perfected. Enki in Eridu a sparkling abode made. Upon soil skyward raised he built it. Like a mountain he raised it above the ground. In a good place he built it. Damkina, his spouse, therein dwelt. To his son Marduk, Enki was there wisdom teaching. In Nibiru Ki, in Lil, the bond heaven earth established. A sight to see it was. At its center, a heavenward tall pillar, the sky itself was reaching. On a platform that cannot be overturned, it was placed. Therewith, the words of Enlil, all settlements encompassed. On Lamu and in Nibiru they were heard. From there, beams were raised. The heart of all the lands they could search. Its eyes could scan all the lands. Its net unwanted approach impossible made. In its lofty house a crown-like chamber was the center. To distant heavens it peered. Toward the horizon was its gaze. The heavenly zenith it perfected. In its dark hollowed chamber by 12 emblems was the family of the sun marked. On Mies were the secret formulas of sun and moon, Nibiru and earth, and 8 celestial gods recorded. The tablets of destinies, in the chambers their hues emitted. With them Enlil all comings and goings oversaw. On earth the Anunnaki toiled, of work and sustenance they were complaining. By earth's quick cycles they were disturbed. Of the elixir they only small rations were given. In the Eden the Anunnaki toiled. In the Abzu the work was more backbreaking. By teams were Anunnaki sent back to Nibiru. By teams new ones were arriving. The Ajiji on Lamu dwelling were the loudest in complaining. When from Lamu to earth they descended, a rest place on earth they were demanding. With Anzu did Enlil and Enki words exchange. The king they consulted. Let the leader come to earth, with Anzu have discussions. So did Anzu to them say. Anzu to earth from the heavens descended. The words of complaints to Enlil and Enki he delivered. Let Anzu of the workings gain understanding. Enki to Enlil was saying, I will the Abzu to him show. You the bond heaven earth to him reveal. To the words of Enki Enlil consented. Enki to Anzu the Abzu did show. The toil in its minds to him he presented. Enlil Anzu to Nibiru Ki invited. To the hallowed dark chamber he let him enter. In the innermost sanctuary, the tablets of destinies to Anzu he explained. What the Anunnaki in the 5 cities were doing to Anzu was shown. To the Ajiji, who at the landing place were arriving, relief he promised. To discuss the complaints of the Ajiji, he to Nibiru Ki then returned. A prince among the princes was Anzu. Of royal seed his ancestry he counted. Evil thoughts filled his heart when to the bond heaven-earth he returned. To take away the tablets of destinies he was scheming. Of the decrees of heaven and earth to take control in his heart he was planning. The removal of the Enlilship in his heart he conceived. To rule Ajiji and Anunnaki was his aim. Unsuspecting Enlil at the entrance to the sanctuary Anzu let be stationed. Unsuspecting Enlil left the sanctuary. For a cooling swim he went away. With evil purpose Anzu the tablets of destinies seized. In a sky chamber he flew away. To the mountain of the sky chambers he swiftly went. There in the landing place rebellious Ajiji for him were waiting. To declare Anzu king of earth and Lamu they were preparing. In the sanctuary of Nibiru-Ki the brilliance petered out. The humming quieted down. Silence in the place prevailed. Suspended were the sacred formulas. In Nibiru-Ki Enlil was speechless. By the treachery he was overwhelmed. To Enki angry words he spoke. Of the ancestry of Anzu he him questioned. In Nibiru-Ki the leaders gathered. The Anunnaki who decree fates with Anu were consulting. Anzu must be seized. The tablets to the sanctuary must be returned. Thus did Anu decree. Who shall the rebel face? Who shall the tablets retrieve? The leaders asked each other. With the tablets of destinies in his possession, invincible is Anzu. To each other they were saying. Ninurta, by his mother encouraged, from the assembled stepped forward. Enlil's warrior I shall be, Anzu I shall vanquish, thus was Ninurta saying. To the mountainside Ninurta set his course. To vanquish the fugitive Anzu he undertook. Anzu from his hideout Ninurta was mocking. The tablets are my protection, invincible I am. Lightning darts Ninurta at Anzu directed. The arrows could not approach Anzu. Backward they turned. The battle was stilled. Ninurta's weapons Anzu did not vanquish. Enki then to Ninurta counsel gave. With your whirlwind stir up a storm. Let the dust cover Anzu's face. Let it the wings of his skybird ruffle. For his son Enlil a mighty weapon fashioned. A Tilu missile it was. To your stormer weapon attach it. When wing to wing, near, at Anzu shoot it. Thus did Enlil his son Ninurta instruct. When wing to each other, let the missile fly as a lightning. Again Ninurta in his whirlwind soared. Anzu against him in his skybird rose to challenge. Wing to wing, Anzu in anger shouted, "This battle will be your destruction." Ninurta the advice of Enki followed. With his whirlwind a dust storm he created. The dust Anzu's face covered. The pinions of his skybird were exposed. Into their midst Ninurta let the missile loose. A fiery brilliance Anzu's pinions engulfed. Like butterflies his wings began to flutter. To the ground Anzu came falling. The earth shook. The skies became darkened. The fallen Anzu Ninurta made captive. From him the tablets he retrieved. From the mountaintop the Ajiji were watching. When to the landing place Ninurta came, they trembled and kissed his feet. Ninurta, the captive Abgal and Anunnaki set free. To Anu and Enlil his victory he announced. To Nibiru-Ki he then returned. In its innermost chamber the tablets were reinstalled. Once again the brilliance therein returned. The hum of Mies in the tablets was restored. Before the seven who judge, Anzu for a judgment was taken. Enlil and Ninlil his spouse, Enki and his spouse, Ninki, the one beforehand as Damkina was known. And the sons, Nanar and Marduk were there. Ninmah also was in judging. Ninurta of the evil deeds spoke. There was no justification. Let death be the penalty, he said. The Ajiji by right were complaining. A rest place on earth they do need, Marduk in counter argued. By his evil deed, all the Anunnaki and Ajiji Anzu did endanger, Enlil said. Enki and Ninmah with Enlil agreed. The evil must be extinguished, they said. To death by execution the seven judged Anzu. With a killing ray, Anzu's life breath was extinguished. Let his body to the vultures be left, Ninurta said. Let him on Lamu be buried. In a cave next to Alalu be laid to rest, Enki was saying. From the same ancestral seed the two of them were. Let Marduk the body to Lamu carry. Let Marduk there as a commander stay. So was Enki to the judges suggesting. Let it so be, Enlil said.